Hey everybody, what's going on? Toby coming at you here. People have been hitting me up. I've had a lot going on the last couple of weeks, and I'm here to explain why. So I had some serious surgery come up. Serious surgical event come up, whatever you want to call it. And I'm just going to give you some history on it, what's going on, what's happened to this point, okay? So, started about 18 months ago, maybe, I guess, first part of 2020, middle of 2023 maybe, end of summer 2023. When I was going on walks, doing stuff, riding motorcycles around, I was starting to feel some left side chest pain, okay? And as I did walks around my neighborhood, feeling the same chest pains. And frankly, I attributed it to just being fat and out of shape and overweight, right? I mean, and when I spoke of this and told this to the doctors, they said that's a normal thing. A lot of people do that. They think that when they feel that kind of stuff, they attribute it just to being out of shape. So, in November of last year, 2024, I went to see my VA primary care doctor and explained what I was feeling. And he said all my labs and everything checked out. Oh, by the way, time out. If you hear any noise over in the left side there, that's that's my better half doing some awesome stuff in the kitchen. You may also hear her chime in the backside correcting some information that I put out here as we go over this stuff. So anyway, back to my VA doctor. I explained what was going on. I had just done labs also, and he said all my labs were checking out just fine, and he didn't think it was angina, but he would put in a request or put in an order for a cardiac stress test is what it's called. So on December 9th, I went up to the Robley Rex VA hospital in Louisville, and I did the cardiac stress test. And for those of you that don't know what that is, they hook you up to an EKG. Let me back up. They put me under a specific kind of a camera. It's kind of like a CT scan camera or an MRI or something, but it's just not that big tube you're put into in loud noises. You're laid on a bed, and this camera gets real close up to your chest, and it takes pictures of your heart, okay? And so they do two versions of this. One is the first one they do is called at rest, and that's to establish a baseline. Then they hook you up to the EKG, and then they put me on a treadmill, and then they inject dye into my system so that they can take pictures of it again while it's at an active level, right? What they call, I can't remember what there's a technical term they call that, where you're like over 120 beats of heart rates, over 120 beats a minute, 140 beats a minute, whatever it is, and you're at a certain level. And then they bring you back into that same room where that camera is, and they lay you back down again. They take more pictures of your heart. And so, long story short, did that. 2 weeks later, I hit my doctor up and asked him if he had seen the results yet. And he called me because he said no, he had not before I messaged him, because the VA, when they conduct those tests from the doctor's orders, they don't notify every single doctor out there, because there's tons of them, right? And all over the region or area or whatever, putting in orders. So they don't just notify doctors when they're done. It's up to the patient to notify the doctors when those tests are done. So anyway, he said they hadn't notified him. He's glad I called him or messaged him to ask him to check. And so he said, it turns out, it's kind of disturbing. He said, it looks like I had a double blockage in my heart. And sorry. He even said it looks like that I'd already had a couple of mild heart attacks. That scared me. So he put me in for another order for a consultation with a cardiologist up at that same hospital. And the next step was on the 13th of January, I had what's called an echo scheduled, which is an ultrasound of your heart. So he told me I needed to take it extremely easy for until that cardiologist appointment, until we know what the next steps are. No strenuous activities, nothing. And so I had to take it extremely easy, y'all. Even riding the motorcycle, it's December, and in Kentucky, the way the weather is, sometimes we didn't really have a lot of opportunities to ride anyway. But there were a couple, and I still had to be very, very careful with that. So January 13th, I drove back up to Robley Rex, and Kylie said she was going to go with me for every single heart appointment after that, because she's awesome. And yes, I know she's over there. But so the echo, what they did was they laid me on a hospital bed. It's the equivalent of, for those of you who've had kids, it's an ultrasound of the heart. They used the ultrasound jelly, and they moved a scanner across my heart as they scanned the area in different positions. I laid on my side. I laid on my back. They pushed it in some pretty uncomfortable spots. It's just weird because they have to get the best imaging of it. And so in some cases they had to dig and push up into certain spots that were, really awkward or just uncomfortable. It's like they were probing deep under your lung or something. So anyway, fast forward that the appointment with the cardiologist was on the 17th. So the appointment on the 13th was that Monday. The appointment on the 17th with the cardiologist was that following Friday. The cardiologist confirmed that yes, I have blockages, and they're going to. He said my heart was operating. I have an enlarged heart, and it was operating at 37%. Normal's 55%. That's an average human being. That's not including your pro athletes and all that. But so they scheduled what's called a cardiac catheterization on the 31st of January. And I'm going to share, you can look in the description right up here, wherever those links pop up. You can look here. I'm going to share two different links. One is going to be for the process of the cardiac catheterization, because I went on YouTube and looked it up. So what they explained, you don't got to just say it.
Okay. So, I was just going to say you might want to include information about the medications you were taking.
Yeah, okay.
Because you're
maybe.
on amlodipine, and then at that appointment before the cath, they put you on the losartan.
Anyway, so she's just talking about I've been on medications for blood thinning and increasing my and decreasing my cholesterol. I didn't know that until a few years ago, but the genetics of me is also against me. My dad, my grandfather, my uncle, high blood pressure runs in the family, high cholesterol runs in the family, and heart disease and strokes and heart attacks and stuff run in the family. So that's the other part that is against me. So I was taking medication to help with those things, and as a part of the appointment with the cardiologist, I was already taking amlodipine for blood pressure. They added a medication called losartan, which was another blood pressure medication. So that was on the 17th. So on January 31st was scheduled for the cardiac catheterization. And like I said, I'll put the link up there so you can see, if you're interested, you can go see what that looks like. Basically what they do is they run a catheter. It's probably about an 8-gauge tube. If you can imagine, Kylie said in her mind what she envisioned after they pulled it out, it looks like a looks like a popsicle stick, guys. And they put one right here in my forearm or my wrist. They ran it right here, and they ran the other one right up here. Okay, and then they also ran a line here for IV. I'll show you. You'll see pictures as I go through this that show me in the bed where after they'd hooked up a couple of the IVs themselves to get me prepped. They took me into the room for the procedure, and they had me lay down my back, lay down. They covered me up, and they turned my arm this way. And what they do is they run like a wire with a camera on the end of it through both of these catheters. They'll run them through either here or here, or another option, they might run up through your groinal area, up your leg, in your leg, and run it that way. Whichever way they think they have the clearest path, and these wires go up to your heart. And that camera goes to your heart, and they look at they actually get to see the blockages themselves and see to what extent the blockages are, where they're located. And the intent was that what they briefed me during the cardiologist appointment, the hope was when you do the cardiac catheterization, ultimately there's three options. It's either they look in there after they're done and they say, okay, well, the blockages aren't so bad, and we can treat them with medication that will cause the medication to break up the plaque and everything else that's there causing the blockages to make them go away. If the blockages are too extensive or too much, then the next step might be to do what are called stents. And I was kind of expecting that was going to be the case. They told me at the cardiology appointment that if I went through and did the stents, I would stay overnight at the hospital there and be checked out Saturday morning, or checked out on Saturday at some point and sent home with follow-on medications and follow-ons and things like that to see how the stents are doing. Many of you out there who have family members, older family members who might have, my stepdad had stents put in. I have some buddies who've had numerous stents put in. And that's kind of what I figured was going to happen. I packed an overnight bag. I had some plans made for Saturday that I was going to go do after the stents, after I was released from the hospital on that Saturday. So that's kind of what I expected. I told family and everybody around here that was what was going on. So when they did if you can't tell by my actions here and emotions, didn't quite go the way I planned it or I thought it was going to go. Anyway, they finished the catheterization procedure, and the doctor comes to me and he asks if I want my wife and if there's anybody else that I wanted to come in when he talked to me. And I said, yeah, my wife's out there. My mom was out there. My mother lives an hour away from me, so she asked if she could come and keep Kylie company while this procedure was going on. And funny thing is, I didn't learn till later that before the doctor came to me, he actually went to Kylie and the doctor asked her what my temperament was, how I would receive information, how well I received information, stuff like that. So he came in there, and I'm going to put up a little picture here so you can see this as well. He came in and told me all of us that I had a severe blockage, 3 blockages. I had, and I cannot remember the specific percentages of every blockage, but I'll say it this way. The Widowmaker that you all know possibly, and he kind of used his fist, and I'll use the fist as an example. So if this is your heart, this is the Widowmaker artery. There's another artery right here, and they fork just like my fingers are doing, right? And then there's another artery down over here. This artery was blocked. I cannot remember the percentage, but the point is that the Widowmaker artery is the killer, that was blocked more than 70%. Every one of these arteries were blocked more than 70%. And the hard part, the reason why I said they couldn't do a stent, was because the main blockage, it was over, not, was it 90%?
Yeah, it was over 90%.
Was over 90%, was here right at the fork of the two arteries. So putting stents in would have been useless. So he said the next option, the only course of action, was he was going to have, that was Friday morning. The appointment was at 7:30. He had me in there by about, what was it, 10 o'clock? No, it wasn't, whatever time. It was in the morning still. And he said the VA, Robley Rex VA hospital, does not do open heart surgery. He said they were going to do open heart surgery on me, and he was going to have me transferred to Jewish Hospital in Louisville that day to have the open heart surgery done on that day, Friday, or on Saturday. So they transferred me. They put me we were waiting around most of the day because the cardiac intensive care unit at Jewish, they were waiting for a bed to open up, basically. And they were, I give incredible respect and props and huge shout out to both the Robley Rex VA hospital, their cardiac unit, and Jewish Hospital, because, you know, on an average patient, we're sitting around in that bed, you know, you, me, anybody else, we'd be sitting around and wondering what's going on. They kept us informed as best they could. And I was actually the Jewish Hospital EMTs and ambulance crew came up around, it was probably around 1 or 2 o'clock. So they got me, they moved me into the ambulatory bed, stretcher, whatever. They rolled me down to the ambulance and then took me over to Jewish Hospital, which is about 5 miles away, right off of the 65 highway going north. And they got me in there. They got me into the, just got me checked in to the, I got to the cardiac intensive care unit. It was kind of in it was the waiting bed, basically. That was Saturday, probably, like I said, around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And so for the next several hours, and what they told us at Jewish once we got there kind of was upsetting, because they said we'd be looking at doing open heart surgery sometime next week. So the first week of February. And we told them, I was like, look, I know VA doesn't control you guys, but they told us you all be doing it on that Friday or Saturday, at the latest, Sunday, whatever. And so they said they were seeing what they could do, and they worked on it. And while I was in the intensive care down there, I've never had so much blood taken from me and X-rays taken of me, and they even had one of the things they also do is, and this is where I'll explain it to you. So and this is, I'll give you the other, there's going to be another video clip I'll put up here as well to another procedure for open heart surgery that Kylie shared with me, she found. And what they do is they cut open your skin here, and they cut open your chest bone, your sternum, your rib cage right here. And what they do is they're either going to take arteries from your neck or from somewhere along your legs, and they cut those out and they graft them over top of, or that's why it's called a bypass, open heart bypass. In my case, a triple bypass, because they were bypassing 3 different arteries so that they could get smooth flow, right? And like I said, I'll show you, you'll see pictures here also of me post-surgery and pictures and stuff like that. So as I go through and I'm saying this stuff, but so numerous X-rays. They did some I don't want to say ultrasound, but they did some kind of x-ray versions down of my ankles, down to my feet, of my legs, all the way from my groinal area, all the way down the legs. They were trying to find the best arteries, the best spots that had the most compatible arteries to use. So I waited around all day Saturday in that IC, in that intensive care unit, and like I said, the staff was not bad. It was, you know,
They were great.
yeah, they were great. And so Sunday, they said they were going to do it. They rolled me up there, and I was terrified, y'all. They rolled me in there, and a doctor comes in and says he's the doctor for anesthesiology, and he explained the process of what was going to happen. He said they were going to intubate me and give me some gas, and they were going to knock me out. The whole thing is entirely, I go under for the whole thing. And again, they said they would do an incision in they said they were going to do, in my case, they're going to do an incision into my leg. Turned out to be both legs, to where they got the arteries from. They got the arteries and they sew them back up, and then they go in and I'm put on, they basically stop your heart and put your lungs and your heart on life support so they can operate on your heart while it's not beating. And yeah, that's what they did. So the next thing I knew, after they wheeled me in there, got me up on the operating bed, and they put the mask on me, and they just start inhaling deeply. That's the last thing I remember. The next thing I remember was waking up post-operation, and I had the tube down my throat, and my throat was sore, and my mouth was sore, and everything was hurting. And did somebody said they have restraining cuffs on the beds to keep the patients from flailing and all that kind of stuff, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they had all that on there just to keep me restrained so I didn't kick and fight and everything else and pull something loose. They removed the breathing tube out of me, so I was breathing on my own. I had 2 tubes and wires in my chest here, and I'll show you now actually. So this is what it looks like. I had tubes and wires down here. This was the incision, and I had also a cardiac catheter here, and the tubes stayed in for a couple of days, I think. Came out of it Sunday, and then, bless her heart, Kylie actually, the flu that was going around the whole country there really bad, Kylie came down with some version of it. So you left what, Monday?
Monday afternoon.
She left Monday afternoon, and she had my cell phone from the moment I went into surgery until she came back up and returned it to me. So she was graciously...
that was Sunday to Monday. So
Yeah,
it's just overnight.
but she was trying to respond to text messages and Facebook messages and whatever else she could, phone calls or whatever. So, yeah. So, from the time I got out of surgery, on Sunday the 2nd, through I was discharged on Saturday the 8th. I was in there for 6 days, and during that time frame, they were. At some point, they removed, like I said, the tubes in here, the wires. I think those were the first couple of days, because I remember I was able to walk around a little bit. They wanted me to start walking. The urinary catheter remained in there the entire time until the day I left. I think day or two before. No, it was the day before I left, I think. Something like that.
Yeah, it was out by the time I got there.
Yeah, the day before I left. And then the day that I left is when they removed all of the catheters, IV drips, everything. They moved everything out. And yeah, so that's the whole thing. And then so as a result of that, I was told one of my restrictions is I can't drive and I cannot be in the front seat of a vehicle for 5 weeks from post-surgery. So from the 2nd of February, I think I mapped it out, and it comes down to the 9th of March is when I'll supposedly be cleared for driving or for riding in the front seat, because obviously it's the airbag thing. If I get in an accident, the airbag could cause damage and bust the sutures in my chest, in my sternum, in my rib cage. Yeah, wired. So, so that's what's been going on, y'all. This is Saturday. As I'm recording this is Saturday the 15th. I haven't reached out to a whole lot of people this past week after getting discharged, because it's just been trying to get into some kind of rhythm. It's body hygiene and everything I've got to clean this incision. Kylie cleans part of it, or cleans it in the evenings, and I also clean it when I'm doing hygiene in the mornings. It's got to be entirely, antimicrobial, antibacterial. It's all got to be careful. The good news is, sort of, I went into the VA hospital on Friday the 31st weighing 238 pounds or 36 pounds, 236 or 238.5. Saturday when I got home on the 8th, I weighed in at home scale at 222. So I lost 16 pounds on hospital food and whatever else. So this morning I got up and weighed in at 221.5. So hoping to get that going down even more. But I think I'm going to try to do a weekly on this, y'all. You can help me be accountable to myself as far as diet, because that's all got to change. Anybody who knows anybody, when you go through this kind of stuff, it's no more red meat. We never really ate out a lot of fast food anyway, but any fast food I had has got to be 99.9% gone. Low sodium, low salt, low sodium, low sugar, no sugar, all that kind of stuff. It's a huge adjustment. Those of you, if you have any kind of a lifestyle where you're used to having a Friday night ice cream or or ice cream every day of the week, or pizza every so often, or ribs when you go to Texas Roadhouse, or take your pick, whatever. All that stuff's gone. So it's not like you're going vegan or you're not going tree hugging or nothing like that. It's just now it's more fish and stuff like that. So, which I like. So it's cool. What? Oh yeah, she's becoming a very proficient hummus maker. So, but hell of a lot more fruit, hell of a lot more vegetables than what I was doing before. But and everything we're doing is either low sodium or no sodium at all. But so I made this video, and I'm going to make others. Probably I'm going to try to do once a week. If not, it'll be every couple of weeks, whatever, so I can update you guys. You guys can follow along. Because I'm going to share this on Facebook, because I've also got family asking questions that, and hopefully this will help me and help you guys catch up on my information. You can see me and see how I'm doing. Just keep your prayers going on. I appreciate it. I know others out there that are Rusty the Biker, for those of you who don't know, has been going through some serious cancer struggles. So my situation is one I'm recovering from. That kind of stuff may not. So, and I'm praying for you, Rusty, Dale, and anybody out there, you're struggling with that type of fight, keep fighting. We're praying for you. We love you. But I continue to ask for you all to continue to pray for me as well and my family as we go through this stuff. I really don't have much else to say right now. Follow-on videos will probably be just about weight and diet and any kind of struggles or things we want to point out. The thing about this is that I was thinking of doing this for. Not just to update family and friends, but for those that might be in my situation. You know, I'm 51 years old, guys. I turned 51 4 days before going for that cardiac catheterization. So in relative terms of people, I'm young. You know, I'm not a teenager, but we're still young, right? I mean, so if you are having any doubts, you know, like I said, I legitimately thought that it was like a heartburn thing, or when I was in the Army running and I was getting faster and working hard on running and exercising and all that, there were times that my chest was burning. This wasn't the same type of burn. These were my arteries and veins telling me, hey, we are too clogged. And that's what I was going to say. So the doctor that did the cardiac catheterization, he was coming over to Jewish Hospital to check on me, and he referred and sent like several other patients over for open heart surgeries that day or in the last couple of days. So he ran into Kylie in the elevator as I think you were coming up, right? Something like that.
He was coming up, I was going to the car.
Okay, so she was going to the car, he was coming up. And he told her that he's been doing this for
Since the 80s.
like 30 years, right? 30, 40 years. And he's only seen about, out of all those years, he's only seen about 20 cases, maybe 30 cases that had my heart condition that were still alive. So he told her it's a miracle I was still up walking around. In the condition my heart was in and my arteries were in. So when you got people, please check on yourselves, listen to your bodies. Your bodies are talking to you.
Listen to your spouses.
Listen to your spouses, listen to your family, your better halves. Don't ignore those words of advice. It's just out of love, right? So, but if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I'm happy to answer. Transparent, open book type of thing. I'm not going to hold anything back. If I don't answer it in the comments, I'll try to answer it in a later video. Do you think I missed anything?
No, I don't think you did. I think
But yeah, guys, that's all. Thanks for watching this. Thanks for all the prayers. I appreciate it. Thanks for all the support. Stay tuned, okay? This fight is not over. This road is going to be a long road to recovery, and I'm not done yet. Love y'all. God bless. Be safe.